Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please subscribe and keep watching for more detailed videos. Monica Quartermain's death is one of those seismic moments in the world of General Hospital that cannot be underestimated. For decades, she stood as the anchor of the Quartermain family, and by extension, she anchored a great deal of the show itself. When a character who has been present for generations suddenly exits, it doesn't only affect the plot lines or the individual family units, it alters the tone of the show, reshapes legacy arcs, and redefines how future storylines will be told. Monica has been a physician, a mother, a grandmother, a survivor of heartbreak, and at times the voice of reason in the chaos of Port Charles. Her absence immediately opens up a cavern, and the ripples will be felt across nearly every family, every institution, and every long-term relationship that makes up the canvas of this soap. The very first consequence of Monica's death is the emotional collapse of the Quartermain household. The mansion, long a place of dysfunction and comedy, but also resilience, now loses the matriarch who could always rally the troops. Edward is long gone. Lila has been gone even longer. Alan's death left Monica carrying the torch. She became the living embodiment of what it meant to be a Quartermain, someone who fought, who schemed when necessary, but who also deeply cared for her children and grandchildren. Without her, Ned, Brooklyn, Michael, and even Jason's children will look around and realize there is no longer that central presence to gather them for Thanksgiving bickering, for heartfelt interventions, or for that wise reminder that despite all the greed and mistakes, family still mattered. Thanksgiving in particular, an iconic Quartermain tradition with pizza replacing turkey after countless disasters, will suddenly feel hollow. The yearly comedic relief will carry a bittersweet tone because the woman who so often endured those mishaps and laughed through them is no longer in the room. Professionally, Monica's death shakes the foundation of General Hospital itself. She was the chief of staff, a role she occupied with authority, integrity, and a deep understanding of what the hospital meant to the community. Losing her means new power struggles will erupt. Who steps into her position? Does it go to someone like Terry, who has proven herself but still operates under Monica's protective umbrella? Or does a new figure rise, sparking political tension inside the hospital boardroom? Every decision Monica made carried the weight of decades of loyalty. Replacing her opens the door to conflicts that could threaten the unity of the hospital. And that unity has always been fragile between the hospital board, the Quartermain fortune that backed much of its survival, and the rivalries that persist among its staff. Monica was a stabilizer. Now, the future of the hospital feels vulnerable in ways it hasn't since the days of financial collapse and mob interference. Another dimension of her death is the way it reshapes legacy. General Hospital thrives on legacy characters, those whose histories stretch back decades and whose names carry weight. Monica's passing forces the writers to decide how to honor that legacy, while also pushing new generations forward. Characters like Brooklyn and Michael must carry the Quartermain identity more visibly. For years, Monica's presence allowed them to orbit, knowing the matriarch held the name's dignity intact. Now, without her, the responsibility shifts. Will Michael embrace his Quartermain heritage more fully, acknowledging that he is not only Sonny's heir but also Edward and Monica's grandson? Will Brooklyn channel her grandmother's strength to become more of a stabilizing influence herself, or will she spiral under the pressure? These questions create story possibilities, but they all stem from the gaping absence Monica leaves behind. There is also the question of Jason's children. Monica loved them as a way of keeping Jason alive in spirit. She became a guardian of their connection to the Quartermain name. With her gone, those children risk drifting from that heritage, especially given the complicated ties between the Quartermains and Corinthos clan. Monica was the bridge. She welcomed them into the mansion, she gave them stories about their father, and she made sure they had roots in both families. Now, if Ned or Brooklyn fail to step into that role, those children could lose their Quartermain grounding. And for longtime viewers, that represents a loss of not only character interaction but also legacy storytelling. Beyond family and the hospital, Monica's death impacts the entire city of Port Charles. She was respected not only as a physician but also as a survivor of unimaginable loss. She endured affairs, betrayals, the deaths of children, and the collapse of her marriage. Yet she kept working, kept healing, and kept reminding others of resilience. When Port Charles residents face crises, natural disasters, mob wars, epidemics, they look to Monica for calm leadership. Now, the community faces the prospect of losing that moral compass. Even characters not directly tied to the Quartermaines will feel it. Imagine Elizabeth, who worked under Monica for years, suddenly finding herself without that mentor. Or Carly, who had a complicated but deeply respectful relationship with her. The ripple effect touches nearly every character, because Monica was woven into the professional and personal lives of so many. On a meta level, Monica's death is also symbolic of an era passing. Soap operas survive by balancing nostalgia with progress. The loss of a foundational character like Monica signals that the show is moving into a new chapter. Viewers who grew up watching her storylines, her tumultuous marriage to Alan, her rivalries with other women, her battles at the hospital will now watch as the torch is passed to younger generations. It's bittersweet, because it acknowledges time's inevitable march. General Hospital, more than 6 decades old, is sustained by these shifts. But losing someone like Monica feels different from losing a secondary legacy character. This is not just another storyline death. It is a cultural moment within the show's fascinating aspects will be how the show handles her funeral. Soap opera funerals are often opportunities for reunions, for guest returns, for unresolved tensions to surface. Monica's service would inevitably bring back characters who have been absent from the canvas. Tracy, for instance, could return to deliver sharp but heartfelt commentary. Dylan might reappear, reconnecting with his roots. Even mentions of characters like Emily and AJ would resonate in a fresh way, because Monica's death recalls their losses. The funeral becomes not just a goodbye to Monica, but a collective mourning of the Quartermaine family's history. For the audience, it's a chance to relive those emotional milestones while seeing how the current generation responds. Does Michael deliver a eulogy? Does Ned struggle with guilt over not always supporting her? These moments crystallize the emotional stakes. The narrative after her passing must also address the estate. The Quartermaine fortune, the mansion, and the hospital connections. How are they divided? Monica was often the voice of reason when fights over inheritance broke out. Without her, legal and personal battles could ignite. Imagine Brooke Lynn and Ned trying to balance fairness with practicality. Imagine Michael being pulled into disputes he doesn't want but cannot ignore. Even Drew could find himself caught in the middle, since Monica had a soft spot for him after Jason's presumed death. These conflicts create long arcs that could sustain the show for months, if not years, and all stem from Monica no longer being alive to mediate. Another dimension that cannot be ignored is the audience reaction. Fans have invested decades into Monica's journey. For many, she represents the bridge between the golden age of General Hospital and its present form. Her death will be received not only with sadness, but also with nostalgia. Longtime viewers will remember the Monica who battled breast cancer, who grieved Alan, who raised children through chaos. They will recall her fiery arguments and her compassionate moments. The show must tread carefully, honoring that history while still crafting compelling drama. If handled poorly, fans could feel alienated. If handled with care, it becomes one of those unforgettable turning points that cements GH's reputation for emotional depth. In terms of long-term storytelling, Monica's death allows the writers to explore generational change. It forces the younger Quartermaines into positions of responsibility. It challenges the hospital staff to redefine leadership. It gives rivalries new battlegrounds. And it allows Port Charles as a whole to reckon with the loss of someone who symbolized endurance. Every storyline for the next year could in some way be traced back to this moment. Even mob storylines, which often seem disconnected from the Quartermaines, could be influenced. Sonny, for example, may reflect on his long history with the family, acknowledging Monica's role as a counterbalance to the Corinthos' influence in Michael's life. That creates opportunities for unexpected interactions and shifting alliances. Most importantly, Monica's death reminds us of what makes soap operas unique. They span lifetimes. Viewers watch characters grow from young adults into elders, and sometimes watch them die. It's a shared history between the audience and the fictional town. Monica's presence allowed fans to feel anchored, knowing that through all the wild plots, affairs, murders, mob wars, there was a continuity of heart. Losing her is painful, but it also emphasizes why these shows matter. They give us characters who feel like extended family, and when they pass, the grief feels real. The legacy Monica leaves is not only in the fictional world of Port Charles, but in the hearts of the fans who followed her for decades. Her death does not erase her influence. Every time a Quartermaine sits down to argue over dinner, her spirit will be there. Every time a doctor at General Hospital makes a difficult ethical choice, her example will echo. Every time a younger character faces loss but pushes forward, they will reflect her resilience. That is the lasting impact of Monica's death. It doesn't close a chapter so much as it engraves her name deeper into the foundation of the show. General Hospital will move forward, as it always does.